I'm Margaret Ann Windsor. I'm Queen Victoria II, the day I was born. And I want to get this right off the bat here. My father, Edward VIII, married my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor. My mom is sister to Georgia O'Keefe, the artist from Madison, Wisconsin. Shame on you, Ryan, okay, and what you're or lack of doing. Now then, my father never married Wallace Simpson, a double did, an imposter. Now then, and they married the Duke and Duchess of Windsor's an illegal title, illegal people, and he died in 1972, and she died a little later. They were buried at Frogmore, Windsor Castle, where Obama and his family spent a couple of nights, I believe, with Elizabeth and little William and the family there. How cozy. Members of the New World Order, and she's illegal. She's a war criminal and should be tried as such. Now then, if I'm skipping around, I was kidnapped in 41, brought to Moulton, Alabama, given the name of a twin. And here is the birth date marked through. The British told me to get both copies of the twins. They gave me the name of a twin and stole mine when they brought me over here. This is Carl's, and both were killed by their mother. They were born out of wedlock. Now, that's the name I still have to use. I married a Childers. And for anyone to say they don't know about this, it's been, well, I was told, or I wouldn't have remembered. I do remember my father's portrait being brought with the two men that handed me over to Lina Dempsey at a pigsty farm in Moulton, Alabama in 1941. And they brought a portrait, a large one, my father in his uniform and everything, and he was holding me. And I don't know how old I was. The best I can remember, I mean, I'm a baby, so I'm maybe at the most 2 months old. I don't know when they do the christening, but I was christened. And the portrait was left there, and later it disappeared. But I was handed over to Dempsey, who'd killed her twins, and I had to use that name growing up. And I found out in '83 from the Brits and Germans about my real name. So for Hillary Clinton, there's other things involved here, but she was Secretary of State. And she certainly knows about me. If she doesn't know all this about me and some other things, she shouldn't be up there. Let me clue you. Now, I wanted to show this. This is my uncle, illegal George VI, with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Elizabeth's mother, George's wife, and the mother of Roosevelt. And then this is George, the sorry sot, and this is Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt. How quaint, all a bunch of crooks, war criminals. They're planning my kidnapping, and I'll tell you why. My father was married to my mom, never this woman. My father had an addendum to the forced abdication, that if an heir be born, the heir would inherit. Now, the addendum or the attachment was legal. It went through channels. So the day I was born, I am Victoria II. And Elizabeth, her father, are illegal, and all the treaties, everything they did thereafter are illegal. So for someone to tell me that's on Facebook and YouTube that she's the illegitimate daughter of Edward VIII, and yet she was born when her mother had this little tryst, she calls it, with the Duke of Windsor, which is not my dad, it's an imposter. She even goes, in 1943, she even goes on to say that Wallace stayed in a hotel nearby, and that's where she was conceived. Her mother got in bed with the imposter. Now that she knows this now because I've told her and everything. So she contacted me, and then I called her back and said she was going into filing, and had help doing it, into some everybody that was group that says who's going to become Queen of England, that she's filing suit to remove Elizabeth. Well, Elizabeth isn't the monarch, it's me. I was kidnapped and brought over here. I am helpless to do anything unless I get power back. I am the monarch. There's no question of getting rid of Elizabeth. She's illegal anyway. So for someone to call me and tell me they're the illegitimate daughter and I'm a half-sister is a total lie. So I don't know what their game is, but and who they are contacting in Great Britain. But from the day I was born, I was Victoria II. My father, because of the addendum, and it was legal, would have become my guardian, and he did. So until 1941, when they kidnapped me, my father should have been in power with me as my guardian. So I'm going to leave it at that. I am, as standing, the Queen of England. I was never anything but. I didn't abdicate. I can assure you I didn't. And my sons, Mark and Scott, are monarchs after me. So I've said that. What else did I really mean to say? I was at the embassy a couple of times, and I wouldn't have known about my kidnapping and been able to remember it if I hadn't been told. So really, I guess I was going back to who the ambassador to England is, to the British Embassy, St. James Court. Represents the government of the United States and to the Queen and government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Special relationship. And here Hillary's husband, Slick Willie, goes off and has a peace agreement. You know who sent in all the bombs and equipment to the attacks on Great Britain by Ireland? The United States financed it. This is how they treat their friends. You should see how they've treated me and my sons, my mom and dad and me, and my country. Look at it. It's in shambles. I don't know what else I need to say here. I'm going to say this. I always show it because Larry Flint was shot in this. Lawrenceville, Georgia, and I was in a campaign to replace Larry McDonald, U.S. Congressman, doctor from Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta. He was on the KAL that was shot down when it veered into Russian airspace, and August 31st of 83. And then I'm going to go ahead and say this. People adore Diana. Diana is as much a part of the war criminals as Elizabeth and the rest of that family. They're illegal. They should stand before a world court which is controlled by the very people that control your press now. That's the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, etc. And your media is totally controlled. For them to black me out, and I'm going to say this. I just found out, now I know a lot about the Clintons, I didn't know this. Bill Clinton has a biracial son. His name is Danny Williams, and I guess he lives in Hope, Arkansas. He has the videos up, and he's on Facebook, has an account there. The point is, they don't mention this. He's been trying to meet his father, etc., etc., and you got Obama that's biracial, and he can't wait to get out and use the taxpayers' money to fund bouncing around on the plane and going, and can't say enough good things about Hillary Clinton and Bill. He doesn't bother to tell that the Clintons have a biracial, Bill Clinton is a father. Now then, there's a question about Chelsea's parenthood. I saw that. I'd already heard about that. Chelsea's father is supposed to be, and I didn't write this down, and so maybe I can't. Hubble. Hubble worked with Hillary at the law firm there. Remember the Whitewater and all that way back then? Most people have forgotten it. Anyway, I'm going to go with this. If I get to go home, it'll be because the bridge take me home, or able to. Withstand all the slaughter that's been done to us, everything that's stolen, and the massive lies that have gone on, and the torture they've done to me and my children here. People pass around the word that Christians and God this and God that, like he's on their side. Did you ever stop and think that God saved the queen might just mean that God saved the real queen, not a bunch of war criminals? Make sure he's on your side, because he's the only one that can sit in judgment on this one, I assure you.